Hello friends, this is Sanjay. In today's video, we will be covering the 30 EVS questions from CTET paper 1 from the December 2021 examination. This specific paper was conducted on the 1st of January of 2022. As you might be aware, the CTET December 2021 examination was held in an online mode and the exam was conducted over a period of 23 days from the 16th of December of 2021 all the way till the 21st of January of 2022. Since we will be solving 23 different paper ones and in each paper there were 30 EVS questions. In total, in this series, we will be solving 690 EVS questions. So these 690 questions cover the entire EVS syllabus and this is a very useful resource for your preparation for the upcoming examination. The distance between Trivandrum and Gandhidham is 2268 kilometers. If a train covers this distance in 42 hours, the average speed of the train between the railway stations of these two cities in meters per second is what? Now pay attention to the fact that we are being asked to calculate the average speed of the train in meters per second. So first start with the basic calculation, that is, if the train has traveled 2268 kilometers in 42 hours. So if we divide the distance by the time taken, then we'll get 54, which is the 54 kilometers per hour, which is the average speed that the train has traveled. Now, since we are supposed to calculate it in meters per second, so 54 into 1000, because every kilometer has 1000 meters, therefore there will be 54,000 meters. So the train has actually traveled 54,000 meters per hour. Now to get it in meters per second, we have to see how many minutes are there in an hour. There are 60 minutes. And how many seconds are there in each minute? There are 60 seconds. Therefore, there are 3600 seconds in every minute. Now if we divide this 54,000 by 3600 seconds, then we will get the answer in meters per second. So this will be 15. Therefore, the train has traveled at a speed of 15 meters per second between these two stations. So the answer here is 15. A student is at A. So let's put a point A and wants to reach B. For this, he first goes to O, which is 120 meter due north of A. So the student travels from A to O, which is 120 meters in the northern direction. And then he goes from O to B by covering a distance of 50 meters due west of O. So from O, he travels a distance of 50 meters and reaches B. The distance from A to B and the direction of A with respect to B are what? So first let us calculate the distance from A to B. So we have to calculate the distance from A to B. Now if you see, this is a right angle triangle. Therefore 50 square plus 120 square is equal to x square, if we take x as the distance between A and B, right? Therefore 50 squares is 2500 and 120 square is 14400 is equal to 16900. So this is x square. Now if x square is equal to 16900, then x is equal to square root of 16900, that will be 130. Therefore the distance between A and B or B and A is 130. So we can eliminate the third and fourth answer choices because they are talking about 170 meters. Now pay attention to what is being asked with respect to the direction. Now the direction of A with respect to B, that is, we have to look at B as the point where we are standing and with what direction does A fall in. Now A falls in this direction. So now if you look at the direction diagram, you see that this is roughly the southeast direction. Therefore the answer here is 130 meters and southeast. So 130 meters southeast will be the correct answer. Select the true statement about sloths from the following. This question has been directly taken from the NCERT Class 5 EVS textbook from a chapter called Super Senses, where there is a mention about what is a sloth. Now, if you look at the information given in the textbook, we see that it says that a sloth looks like a bear, but it is not a bear, and it spends almost 17 hours sleeping while hanging upside down on a tree branch. Now, since it is saying that it looks like a bear, and we see that the second option says chimpanzee. So, this option is incorrect. And the third option is also talking about chimpanzee. Therefore, this also can be eliminated. Now, we have two options. Option number 1 and option number 4. Now, option number 1 is saying it looks like a bear, which is correct, and it spends almost 22 hours a day sleeping. So, now 22 hours is incorrect. Therefore, this statement also can be eliminated. We are left with one option, that is option 4, which is the correct answer. So, sloth looks like a bear, correct, and it spends almost 17 hours a day sleeping. So, 17 hours a day. This is also correct. Therefore, option 4 is the correct answer here. When you pour milk through a piece of cloth, the cream remains in the cloth. This method of separation is what? Now, if you look at what has been given in NCERT's Class 6 Science Separation of Substances chapter, there are several types of separation of substances that are described there. And the 4 options that are given here are filtration, sieving, sedimentation, and decantation. Now, filtration is the correct answer here. That is, if you are going to pour milk through a piece of cloth, which is essentially a filter, then only the milk is going to come into the bowl and the cream will remain in the filter. Therefore, filtration is the answer here. Also, looking at the other options, sieving is something that is done with flour or any sort of a powder. For example, if you put flour, such as wheat flour or rice flour, in a sieve and you shake it, then only the fine flour will come into the container below, and any bigger pieces will remain in the sieve. So, sieve is essentially a filter, but it is used for solid substances such as a powder or any sort of a flour. And sedimentation is when you mix an insoluble substance into water, such as mud. So, if you mix mud into water, after some time, the mud starts settling down at the bottom of the container. So, that separation which happens, where after a while the sediment gets deposited at the bottom and the liquid is at the top, is called sedimentation. And decantation is the next step after sedimentation. That is, after the liquid and the solid have separated, if you tilt the container and take out only the liquid, this is called decantation. So, the correct answer here is filtration. And this is a very important question because this question has been repeated several times in several previous question papers. On the map of Golconda Fort given in class 5 textbook, 1 centimeter is equal to a distance of 110 meters on the ground. On this map, the distance between Fateh Darwaja and Jamali Darwaja is 10.7 centimeter. On the ground, the minimum distance between these two would be what? Now, here it's a very simple problem because they have mentioned that 1 centimeter in the map is equal to 110 meters on the ground. Now, they are asking us if the distance between 2 points is 10.7 centimeter on the map, what would be the distance on the ground? Now, here just multiply 10.7 with 110. So, it is essentially a cross multiplication. Right? So, when you multiply 10.7 with 110, you will get 1177. Now, this is 1177 meters. So, the distance between Fateh Darwaja and Jamali Darwaja is actually 1177 meters on the ground. But here, the answer choices are given in kilometers. Therefore, we just have to divide this 1177 by 1000 because 1 kilometer is 1000 meters. So, when we divide it by 1000, we will get 1.177 kilometers. So, the correct answer here is 1.177 kilometers. A group of 3 states having Bay of Bengal on one side is what? Now, this is a very frequently asked question because almost every year there will be a question which will ask about the states bordering the Arabian Sea or states bordering the Bay of Bengal. Now, when you look at the answer choices, the first one says Andhra, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. While Andhra and Maharashtra are adjacent to the Bay of Bengal, Maharashtra is on the other side. It is towards the Arabian Sea. Therefore, this makes it an incorrect option. The next one is Odisha, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Here again, Odisha and Tamil Nadu are adjacent to the Bay of Bengal, but Kerala is adjacent to the Arabian Sea. Therefore, this makes it an incorrect option. The third one is Odisha, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. This is a correct answer because Odisha, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu are towards the Bay of Bengal. Therefore, this is the correct answer. The last option says Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. As we discussed, Kerala falls towards the Arabian Sea. Therefore, this makes it an incorrect option. Suppose you are in Madhya Pradesh. With respect to this state, the direction of our country's thickest forest is what? Now, this is a question that has been taken from the class 5 EVS chapter 20 called Whose Forests? So, in this particular lesson, it has been mentioned that the thickest forests in India are in Arunachal Pradesh. So, now if you are in Madhya Pradesh, if you look at the direction of Arunachal Pradesh with respect to Madhya Pradesh, you'll see that it will be towards the northeast. In fact, all these states are called the northeastern states. Therefore, the correct answer here is northeast. The height of the peak of Mount Everest is what? Now, this is both a general awareness question as well as a question that has been taken from the class 6 social science geography textbook. Now, the height of Mount Everest is actually 8848 meters or 8848 meters. Since the nearest option that we have here is 8850, so this will be the correct answer. A shooting star is a what? Now, this question has been taken from class 8 science, stars and the solar system. And it is clearly mentioned there that these are commonly known as shooting stars. Although they are not stars, they are called meteors. So, the correct answer here is meteor. Consider the following statements about the Khejadi tree. Now, this question has been taken from class 4 EVS, the story of Amrita. And here it is mentioned that the Khejadi tree is found mainly in desert areas. Therefore, statement A is correct. And it can grow without much water. Therefore, statement B is also correct. And it says that its bark is used for making medicines. So, statement 4, which says that the bark of this tree is used for making medicines, is also correct because it is also mentioned here that its wood is such that it will not be affected by insects. Therefore, statement D is also correct. And when we look at the answer choices, we have to select 3 statements which are correct. Therefore, A, B and D are correct statements. Therefore, the first option A, B and D will be correct here. Consider the following statement given by a student. I have come from an area where rainfall is very scarce. It is very hot and our houses are made of mud. The walls of the houses are very thick and also plastered with mud. The roofs are made of thorny bushes. This student must be from a village of which of the following states? Now, this question has been taken from class 3 EVS, a house like that, where it is mentioned that I have come from Rajasthan and rainfall is very scarce in our area. It is very hot too. We live in mud houses. The walls of the houses are very thick. Therefore, reading through the information given in this chapter, we know that the answer is Rajasthan. And even if you have not read this chapter, when you see that the student is from an area where rainfall is very scarce and it is very hot, then naturally you should be able to identify this must be Rajasthan. So the correct answer here is Rajasthan. Consider the following statement made by a student while giving her introduction in a meeting. I come from a place where most of the people prefer to eat fish cooked in mustard oil. So the student must be from which of the following places? Now, this is a very tricky question because the moment you hear fish, so you will think about Goa or you will think about Kerala. However, this question has been taken from class 3 EVS, foods we eat, where it is mentioned that I live in Kashmir. I like fish cooked in mustard oil. Therefore, the correct answer here is Kashmir. So, when you think of fish and there is also a mention of mustard oil, then you should be able to identify that the correct answer is Kashmir. Select the correct statement from the following. Here we are given 4 statements about elephants and we are supposed to identify which of these statements is correct. Now this question has been taken from class 4 EVS, A Day with Nandu, where Nandu is the name of a baby elephant. Now the information in the chapter says that the adult elephant can eat more than 100 kilograms of leaves and twigs in one day. Now the first statement says that then adult elephant can eat more than 2 quintals, that is 220 kgs. Therefore, since it is mentioned 100 kilograms here and there is 220 kilos here, so this statement is incorrect. Then, because of their heavy weights, most elephants like to take too much rest after eating. Whereas in the chapter it is mentioned that elephants do not rest very much. Therefore, statement 2 is also incorrect. Then, statement 3 says even a 3-month-old baby elephant generally weighs about 200 kilos. And it is clearly mentioned that Nandu is only 3 months old, but he weighs 200 kilograms. Therefore, even a baby elephant can weigh 200 kilograms. Therefore, this is a correct statement. And the last statement says that on an average, most elephants sleep 9 to 10 hours in a day. Whereas in the chapter, it is mentioned that they sleep only for 2 to 4 hours in a day. Therefore, this is also an incorrect statement. So here, the third statement is the correct answer. Select the group which can be recycled after use. Now this question is based on Class 6 Science, Chapter 16, Garbage In, Garbage Out. But even after reading this chapter, we'll have a little bit of confusion around this question because all of the options cannot be recycled. Now, if you look at the first one, it says polythene bag, paper, batteries and mobile phones. At first look, it looks like all of them can be recycled. However, while mobile phones, batteries and papers can be recycled, not all polythene bags can be recycled. Very thin polythene bags are discarded because they are not economically viable for recycling. Therefore, this makes it an incorrect statement. Next, bed sheets, newspaper, plastic bottle and batteries. Here again, bed sheets can be reused if they are in good condition. They can be reused for making some other articles. However, they cannot be recycled. Therefore, this is also an incorrect statement. Next, iron nails, glass bottle, steel mug and cardboard box. Now all of these 4 items can be recycled. Therefore, this has to be the correct answer. And the last statement says leather bag, wooden table, plastic vase and bed sheets. Here again, a leather bag, a wooden table and bed sheets may be reused if they are in good condition. However, they cannot be recycled. Therefore, this is also an incorrect choice. Match the following. Now here we are given 4 food items and we are given a choice of 5 states and we have to match the food items with the states. Now this question has been taken from class 3 EVS, foods we eat. Now as I mentioned earlier, whenever you see fish and mustard oil, then immediately associate it with Kashmir. Therefore, 3 has to be D. Now when we look at the answer choices, the last one has 3 as D. Therefore, this has to be the correct answer because none of the other 3 have 3 associated with D. Now let's also verify the other options. Here, sea fish cooked in coconut oil. Now this is something that is mostly prevalent in Goa. Therefore, 4 has to be A. Now here it is 4A. And boiled tapioca curry made using coconut. Now this is prevalent and is popular in Kerala. Therefore, 2 has to be B. Now here again, 2 is B. And then Chholey-Bhature, even though it is popular in many states across India, Chholey-Bhature is apparently associated more with Punjab. Therefore, here 1 should be E, which is the correct answer. Select a suitable assessment task for class 4 students of EVS. Now, when it comes to EVS, the teaching or learning or assessment of EVS, then if you look at the syllabus document or read through the introduction in any of the EVS textbooks, such as the foreword or a note for teachers and parents, you will see that there is a lot of importance and emphasis given to actual real world hands-on experience, that is practical experience. And it is clearly mentioned that there is no place for definitions or mere information. So the simplest way to answer many of the EVS pedagogy questions is to divide the answer choices into two categories. Look at them, which of them are theory and which of them are practical. And the answer will usually be the practical. Now, when we look at the answer choices for this question, the first one says writing question answers on the chapter of floating and sinking. Now, writing question answers is theory. Therefore, this cannot be the answer choice. The next one is performing the activity to observe sinking and floating. So, performing the activity. So, this is practical. Therefore, this has to be the answer choice. The next option is explaining the definition of floating and sinking. So, explaining definition of floating and sinking is again theory. And it is also mentioned in the textbook that there is no place for definitions. Therefore, this cannot be the answer choice. And the last one is learning the list of objects which float or sank. Now, this again is theory. And it is also mentioned in the textbook that mere information is not encouraged. Therefore, this cannot be the answer choice. So, just to re-emphasize what I explained, when it comes to EVS and you look at a pedagogy question, clearly look at all the answer choices and divide them and mark them as which one of them are theory and which one of them are practical. And invariably, the correct answer will be mostly the answer choice which leans towards practical or hands-on experience. Art and craft should be integrated in EVS teaching because it promotes which of these options. Now, this question can be directly answered by looking at all the answer choices. It can also be answered by looking at the information given in the Class 3 EVS textbook, A Note for Teachers and Parents, where it is given that group learning promotes peer learning and it improves social interaction. And what do children prefer to learn in groups? They prefer learning arts and crafts. And there is also information that when children are working in groups, then they actually feel noticed and they feel included. Therefore, when we look at the answer choices, by using this information, we can select the correct answer choices. Or we can also answer this by just looking at the options that are given. For example, arts and crafts promotes creativity. So this has to be correct. And when you give arts and crafts project or give some art and craft work to children, they look at each other. So they see that, okay, this boy is drawing it in a different way or that girl is doing things in a different way. So they learn from each other. They look at each other and copy what the other kid is doing. So that is peer learning. Therefore, peer learning also has to be correct. And when we look at the third option, it says discipline in class. Now, art and craft as such has nothing much to do with discipline. Therefore, we can remove C from the options. And the last one is inclusion. So when kids are given arts and crafts projects, everyone can participate. Therefore, all the kids will feel included. Therefore, A, B and D, all the three are correct. Therefore, the last option A, B and D has to be the correct option here. Which of the following strategies promotes inquiry while teaching the theme shelter to class 4 students? Now, first we have to understand what is this inquiry. Now, inquiry is the act of asking for information. So, we have to look at the answer options and see in which of these will the child actively ask for information and learn through whatever he is hearing from others. Next, we also can read the class 4 EVS textbook, A Note for Teachers and Parents, where it is written that a child should be encouraged to build upon his or her curiosity, learn by doing, ask questions, experiment. Now, if you look at all the answer choices, you have to see which of these activities gives the maximum opportunity for children to build upon his or her curiosity, to learn by doing, asking questions and experimentation. Now, the first option says ask students to collect pictures of different types of houses. Now, collecting pictures is a relatively simple activity. The child is just probably using a book or printing out some pictures and cutting out the pictures and putting them in an album. So this collection of pictures is a simple activity. It does not promote inquiry. Therefore, this can be eliminated. Next, sharing pictures of different types of shelters. Now, once the child has collected the pictures, if the child is actually sharing the pictures with other children or with the teacher, then this also is something which is not going to promote inquiry as such. Therefore, this also can be eliminated. Now, the third one, ask students to narrate their experiences of visiting different construction sites. Now, what is happening here is the children first have to visit different house construction sites. They have to look at what's happening there. They will ask questions to the workers or to the people who are accompanying them. They will ask, why is this being built like this? What are you doing here? Why is this machine being used? So they ask a lot of questions out of their curiosity. And when they come back to class and they are asked to narrate their experiences, then they have to explain what they saw. They have to tell the experience in their own words. Therefore, this activity gives a maximum opportunity for the child to build upon his or her own curiosity and ask questions and experiment, etc. Therefore, the correct answer has to be this. Now, the last one is showing a PowerPoint presentation of different shelters across the country. Now, if the teacher is just showing some PowerPoint presentations, now this is a very basic and fundamental activity that you don't know what the child is learning, whether the child is actually understanding anything or not. Therefore, this also can be eliminated as an answer choice. EVS in the primary classes is a subject which integrates which of the following? Now this is a very simple question, and this is the basic definition of what EVS is all about. Now you would have read in the EVS syllabus document, or if you read any of the EVS textbooks, you'll see that in EVS it is essentially an integration of science, social science and environmental education. Therefore here science, social studies and environmental education has to be the correct answer. Therefore option 4 is correct. Which of the following is an objective of EVS at a primary level? Now this is a very simple question. This can be answered by using the information that is there in the National Curriculum Framework, where it is clearly mentioned that one of the purpose of EVS is to sensitize children to various social issues like poverty, child labor, illiteracy, caste and class inequalities, etc. Therefore, the answer choices, if we evaluate against the information in the NCF, we'll be able to select the right answer. Or even if we look at the introduction of the EVS textbook, the note for teachers and parents, even here it is mentioned that in EVS, we have to find suitable ways to sensitize the child to various ills of the society. Therefore, when we look at the answer choices, the first one says to sensitize learners to the issues related to gender discrimination. Now, both the NCF and the introduction to the EVS textbook are talking about sensitization. Therefore, this has to be the correct answer. Now, if we look at the other answer choices, we'll see that the next one says to develop simple models from locally available materials. Now, this is not a shop class, or this is not a class where we are trying to teach children to make models from locally available materials. Therefore, this answer choice does not make much sense. We'll eliminate this. Next one is to gradually prepare students for upper primary science concepts. Now this may be a outcome of EVS teaching, but this cannot be the objective, because you are just trying to teach the basic concepts to children through EVS and you are not trying to prepare them for higher classes. Therefore, this may be a correct statement, but this cannot be the objective of EVS. And the last one is to orient students towards occupational choices available in their locality. Occupational choices means job options. Now you are not trying to prepare children for any job options through EVS. Therefore, this is an obviously incorrect option. So even when we look at all the answer choices, the best option is to sensitize learners. So this has to be the correct answer. A teacher asks her students to consult their family members to find out the names of the different plant parts like root, stem and flowers eaten as food. This activity is designed to do which of the options? Now, if you look at the introduction part of the EVS textbook, a note for teachers and parents, it is mentioned that children are encouraged to tap sources other than the textbook and teacher, such as family members and members of the community, because the idea is that textbooks and teachers are not the only sources of information. So the child is actually encouraged to learn something from his or her own surroundings, from his or her own immediate family members and community members. Now, when we look at the answer choices, the first one says to promote experiential learning. Now this is a absolutely correct answer, and this has to be the answer for this question, because what the child is doing is when the teacher teaches something, right? The teacher is just giving some theory. So the practical aspect of it might be missing. But when the child speaks to his or her family members, then the child is getting to know from a practical aspect as to what are the different plant parts like root, stem, flowers which are eaten as food in his or her own family. For example, these are banana stems, and if the teacher says that banana stems are food items, then this might not be practical for all the students, because in some houses this is not considered to be an edible commodity, whereas in some parts of India banana stem is considered to be a delicacy and it is eaten as like a vegetable. Therefore, the child, when he or she speaks to his or her family members, he or she gets to know from his own family what are the different food items, plant-based food items that are consumed in his or her own family. Therefore, to promote experiential learning, to promote practical learning is the objective of this exercise. Now, when we look at the other options, the next one says promote learning of concepts related to food. Now, this is a true statement, right? There is nothing incorrect about it. The next one is make the lesson more enjoyable and interesting. Definitely, this is also a true statement. And the last one is allow the students to discover about food freely. Absolutely, because when they speak to his or her family members, there is a unstructured conversation, unstructured learning that is happening. So, to discover about food freely is also a correct statement. Now, when we see that there are 4 possible correct statements, then what we are doing here is we are choosing the most strongest of the 4 options. There is also a shortcut to answering questions like this. Whichever option has anything related to experiential or practical or hands-on, then that would be the best option as far as EVS is concerned. Therefore, since when we look at these 4 statements, the strongest statement here is promote experiential learning, and that is the correct answer. Which of the following strategies of teaching EVS to visually impaired student is most appropriate? That is, if children have difficulty in seeing something, they might not be completely blind, but they have other types of visual disabilities, then what is the most appropriate way of teaching EVS to such children? Now, this can be answered both from a theoretical perspective and also by just looking at all the answer choices. From a theoretical perspective, if we refer to the NCERT guidelines on including children with special needs, in that document, it is clearly mentioned that children should be provided with tactile graphs and diagrams. So, children should be provided with tactile graphs and diagrams wherever available. And this is not just for EVS, but this is for all subjects. So now, when we look at the answer options, the last one says use more tactile teaching and learning materials. So tactile teaching and learning materials are those materials which the children with say visual disabilities can touch and feel and can use for learning. For example, there might be braille documents, or there might be other teaching tools which can be read by mere touch or feel. So such tactile teaching and learning materials are supposed to be used. So this has to be the correct answer here, and this is also correct as per the theory. And when we also look at the other options, make a mixed peer group in the class. This is a correct statement, because blind children or visually disabled children should not be segregated. They should be mixed along with the rest of the class. So this is a correct statement. Next, allow more time to finish a task. This might also be true to a certain extent. And the next one is break the task into parts and teach the parts separately. Absolutely, this is also a correct statement. Now, when we look at all the 4 statements, the strongest one here again is using more tactile teaching and learning materials. So this has to be the correct answer, because among the 4 options, the 4th one is the strongest one. The most appropriate stage of the lesson plan where students should be assessed while teaching EVS is what? Now this is a very, very simple question, because if you just read the introduction part of the EVS textbook, you'll see that there is a mention that evaluation should be a continuous process, and there is a talk of something called continuous and comprehensive evaluation. So this is where the evaluation is not just done in a monthly test or a quarterly test or an annual exam. So this is where the assessment of the students is done throughout the entire teaching and learning process. So this has to be the correct answer. And even if you read other documents like the NCF or the NEP, even in these documents, there is a emphasis given on continuous and comprehensive evaluation. So not only for EVS, but for all subjects, the evaluation of the students should happen throughout the teaching and learning process. Therefore, this is the correct answer. You have to assess your students' EVS projects and give them quick feedback. Which assessment tool will you choose? Now, when you read the NCERT continuous and comprehensive evaluation guidelines and also study the various tools that are used in assessment and evaluation of EVS, you'll see that checklist is the tool that is recommended when it comes to quick feedback. So basically what you're doing is you are evaluating or you are assessing the students' projects and you are giving them verbal feedback. That is the quickest manner in which you can give feedback to the students. However, to make sure that you have covered all the points, you can use a simple checklist like this, saying that did you give feedback on the concept? Did you give feedback on the presentation? Did you give feedback on the neatness, the accuracy and the teamwork? So a checklist ensures that you are giving feedback across all the parameters that you should be considering. Therefore, a checklist is used whenever quick feedback is required after assessment. Therefore, this is the correct answer. The objective of assessment of EVS learning is which of the following? Now, before answering this question, we have to understand that while assessment and evaluation are words which are often used interchangeably, there is a difference between these two terms. Assessment is much bigger because assessment is qualitative and it is subjective, whereas evaluation is more granular, it is number driven and it is more objective. Now, when you look at a child and how he or she is behaving in the class in a particular subject, you can make an assessment that the child is very confident, right? So that is assessment. And when the child actually takes a test in that particular subject and the child gets some marks, so you get to know how much a child actually knows about that particular subject. So those marks are actually obtained through evaluation. So evaluation is part of the assessment process, and assessment is much bigger than just evaluation. Now, when we look at the four answer choices, the first one says that the teacher gathers information about the students' achievements. Now, this is a high level statement because it is saying that the teacher is not just looking at the marks that the child has scored in a particular test, but the teacher is actually looking at the high level achievements of the child. Therefore, this is probably the highest level statement among the four. Now, the next one is it is a way of teaching rather than evaluation. Now, this is not so correct because assessment is also used for evaluation because evaluation is part of the assessment process. So it is not just about teaching. It is also about understanding what the teaching has led to, whether the teaching is effective or not. Therefore, this statement can be discarded because it is incomplete. Next, it provides feedback about the student's progress in mastering new knowledge. This is a correct statement. However, when you look at it from the context of the first one, which is talking about the student's achievement, whereas this is just about the student's progress in a specific new knowledge. So this is a smaller statement. Therefore, this can be discarded. And the last one is it informs about the student's learning to provide support for the next step. So evaluation is probably something that is used to just provide support for the next step to see whether the children are ready to go to the next lesson or not. So assessment is much bigger than mere evaluation. Therefore, just about providing support for the next step is more of evaluation rather than assessment. Therefore, we can discard these three statements. The first statement, which says that teacher gathers information about the student's achievement through assessment, is the biggest statement among these four. Therefore, this has to be the correct answer. Primary classes, that is classes 1 to 5, will consist of which of the following stages according to the NEP 2020? So this is a straightforward question because you have to refer to the NEP 2020 to answer this. Now, in that particular document, it is mentioned that there will be a 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 kind of a system that will be followed. That is, the first 5 years will be foundational stage. So this will be from ages 3 to 8, right? So this is for classes 1 and 2. And then comes the preparatory stage, which is for 3 years, which is for ages 8 to 11, and this is for classes 3 to 5. And then comes the 3 years of middle stage, that is 11 to 14 and classes 6 to 8. Now here they are asking us classes 1 to 5. So 1 to 5 is basically foundational stage and preparatory stage, because 1 and 2 are under foundational stage and 3 to 5 are in preparatory stage. So here we have to identify foundational stage and preparatory stage. So it is C and A, or A and C. Therefore, the correct answer here is A and C. Which of the following are not a process skill at a primary level? So now this question can be answered from a theoretical angle or by just looking at all the answer options. From a theoretical angle, if we read the NCERT learning outcomes at the elementary stage, then you will get the required information to answer this question. But this question can be easily answered from a practical point of view by just looking at the answer options. For example, the first one is mapping. Now mapping is a very simple skill, right? You are asking children to make a map of the classroom, make a map of the school, and say where is the toilet located and where is the playground. So such simple mapping of the classroom, of the school, are included as activities at a primary level. Therefore, mapping is a process skill at the primary level. Next, defining variables operationally. Now this sounds very complex, but this is a very simple concept. For example, you are teaching children, you have 3 apples and I will give you 3 bananas. So how many fruits do you now have? So this is nothing but x plus y is equal to z, and find the value of z. So even though it sounds complex, this is a very simple process skill and this is included at a primary level. You might call it fruits or you might call it toys or anything, but these are essentially numbers that you are adding up to arrive at a variable. Therefore, this is a basic process skill. Next is testing hypothesis. Now this sounds simple, but this is a more complex activity, because you are first creating a theory, right? And you are testing that theory by conducting an experiment. So that is what is testing hypothesis all about. Now this is a higher level process skill. Therefore, this is not included at a primary level. Therefore, this is the answer here. Next is recalling facts. Recalling facts is just memorizing some simple things, right? So this is definitely included at a primary level. So this cannot be the answer choice. Therefore, the answer here is testing hypothesis, because this is a higher level process skill. Which is a sub-theme under the theme family and friends. So when we look at EVS, there are a set of themes. There are 6 themes and there are 4 sub-themes under the first theme. So now we are asked to identify which of these is a sub-theme. Now the themes are family and friends, then food, then water, shelter, travel, and things we make and do. And the sub-themes are relationships, work and play, animals and plants. Now when we look at the answer choices, work and play is actually a sub-theme under the theme family and friends. Therefore, this is the answer here. Which of these is a divergent question? A teacher of EVS will ask her students to promote creativity. Now before answering this question, we have to understand what is this divergent question all about. Now a simple way of remembering this is, if a question is leading to multiple correct answers, then that is a divergent question, because the answers are diverging from the question. Right? Whereas if multiple questions are leading to the same answer or a limited set of answers, those are convergent questions, because they are all leading towards the same answer or the same set of answers. Now when we look at the answer choices, the first one says, what are the steps of harvesting onions starting from sowing onion seeds in the soil? Now this is a convergent question, because there is only one process or a limited set of processes for harvesting onions, and you already know the correct answer. So whatever might be the question, you are expecting a specific answer or a specific set of answers. Therefore, this one is a convergent question. Now the next one is, what step will you take to reduce air pollution in metro cities like Delhi? Now this is a divergent question, because each children might come up with his or her own answer, and all of them may be correct or all of them may be partially correct. Therefore, the question can lead to various types of answers. So this is a divergent question. So this is a question that is asking you to think outside the box and not just specifically asking you for a particular answer. Now the next one is, how will you separate salt from salt solution? So there might be 1 or 2 or 3 methods of separating salt from salt solution, and all of which are already known to scientists. Therefore, you are looking at a specific answer or a specific set of answers. Therefore, this is a convergent question. And the last one is, why leaves have green color? You know that leaves have chlorophyll, that's why they are green in color. Therefore, there is only one correct answer for this. So this also is a convergent question, because whatever might be the type of question that you ask, if you are asking why they have green color, then you are coming to the same answer, which is chlorophyll. Therefore, this is convergent. So the only divergent question among these is, which step will you take to reduce air pollution? So this is the answer for this question. The dynamic, holistic and experiential nature of EVS learning by students is best assessed by which of the following options? Now, the question itself is saying that EVS as a subject is very dynamic, it is holistic, and it is also experiential in nature. So, to assess a complex subject like EVS, you can't just use just one type of assessment methodology, and you have to use any type of assessment methodology that is available to you depending on what is it that you want to assess. So when you look at the options, the first one says rating scale. Now there is a long list of assessment techniques or assessment methodologies that are used in EVS, and rating scale is just one of the methodology in that list. Therefore, this cannot be the correct answer. Similarly, pen and paper tests and oral tests are also just one type of assessment that is used in EVS. Now the third option says authentic assessment strategies. That is, depending on what is it that you want to assess, whether it is a process or a project or an experiment or a lesson, what you want to assess decides what kind of assessment methodology you should use. So you will devise a strategy depending on what is it that you want to assess. Therefore, authentic assessment strategies is what you will use in EVS. Therefore, that is the correct answer. And with that, we come to the end of the 30 EVS questions in this question paper. So if you have any comments, questions or feedback, please do post them in the comments below. And please do like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. And if your friends are also preparing for a similar exam, then share this video with them so that it can help them also. So I will see you again shortly in the next video. Till then, take care, stay safe, and all the best with your preparation.